NFL Week 5 was pure chaos. We had blowouts, nail biters, and some of the weirdest touchdowns you'll ever see. But breaking that down with me is going to be my co-host Eric, and we are going to talk about NFL Week 5. How you feeling, Eric?
I'm feeling good. Week 5 was exciting. We had another game of the year candidate with that Bucks Seahawks game. That was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to break them all down. But yeah, there's a lot to get into today.
Absolutely. So we're going to start as most stories start at the beginning. We're going to start with Thursday's game, San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. Just taking a look at this one, Mac Jones still getting it done back there at the quarterback position, filling in for Brock Purdy. And Christian McCaffrey still being inefficient, but still getting a ton of volume in this offense. So just continuing to answer that question, what if the efficiency doesn't return? It doesn't really matter because the volume's still there. And he's still like the wide receiver 3 in fantasy right now.
Yeah, if you just take his receiving scoring, I think he is, like you said, either the wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4. So yeah, the inefficiency on the ground doesn't matter as much. I am nervous about what that could mean once this offense, if it ever gets healthy, comes back. Like once Brandon Ayuk comes back, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, if they start to throw more to the receivers and he gets less of the target share, what that could mean. But right now, he's very secure in his role, so it's hard to take anything away from that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And even in a game like this, Mac Jones making Kendrick Bourne look like prime Randy Moss out there, just having a huge game. Do you think that he's going to be somebody that they look to while, the team is getting healthy just going forward? Like, do you think this is something that is more of a trend going forward than just a outlier?
I mean, like you said, I don't know how long it lasts, depending on the health of the rest of the receiving group. But I think if if Ayuk isn't there, if Pearsall isn't there, if Jennings isn't there, then yeah, like they don't have a lot of options, and he's clearly got rapport with Mac Jones. Same with kind of Jake Tongus.
Hmm.
In both of Mac Jones's starts, he's found the end zone and looked pretty good. He got 7 receptions in this one, so yeah, they're making the best of a bad situation, and it's working out for fantasy.
Yeah, and like you said, it's one of those, like, obviously when George Kittle gets back, Jake Tonges probably isn't going to be a guy anymore. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, he's definitely getting it done out there. And then taking a look at the Los Angeles Rams side of the ball, Matthew Stafford continuing to kind of play at an MVP level this year when we kind of wondered if he was even going to be able to play football at the beginning of this season. And because of that, Puka Nakua, Devontae Adams, just super viable in fantasy right now. And the running backs are still all right there. The running back room is kind of weird right now in Los Angeles. Would you agree with that?
It's So we definitely thought that it was over the first 4 weeks. It was trending more towards Blake Corum, not towards Blake Corum, but away from Kyron Williams, and his snap share was going down. This week it bounced back up. We also saw Blake Corum like fumble
Yeah.
a toss play early in the game, and then that was kind of it for him. It was the Kyron Williams show, even though he also had a crucial fumble in this one. Um, but yeah, he was also like heavily involved in the receiving game, which we haven't seen from him in a long time. 8 receptions for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's a big deal. If that continues, then we really got to throw him up the rankings. I'm curious to see how involved Blake Corum is in week 6, though.
No, absolutely. It's been sort of a roller coaster with the room because one second you think, oh yeah, Kyron Williams is the guy, and then the next week Blake Corum is heavily featured. So
Hmm.
it stands to be seen that they do it 2 weeks in a row. Like you said, I'll be a lot more confident about it, and we can shoot them up those rankings. But we definitely got to keep an eye on things. And
Yeah.
we don't even got to talk about Puka at this point. He's just the greatest wide receiver playing right now at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of unreal. And Devonte Adams did get there. It took him a little while. The first half was kind of rough, but he finished strong. Didn't see a touchdown in this one, but still strong red zone shares. So encouraging there.
Absolutely. And with that, we are going to move on to the next one. The next up, we got Minnesota and Cleveland across the pond, the London game. Again, early morning, so hope you guys learned a lesson from the last time. But no big reveals this time. Luckily, we knew everything ahead of time. Just talking about performance for this game on the Minnesota side of things. Justin Jefferson getting it done, looking like the Justin Jefferson of old. Carson Wentz had a little bit of a scare going down with the shoulder injury for a second, but came right back to action pretty soon. Same with Jordan Mason, also left with an injury and came back, returned to action pretty quickly as well. But what are your thoughts on Minnesota right now and how things are going in lieu of the injuries and with their bye week coming up?
Yeah, so my biggest takeaway here, which honestly probably doesn't have like a huge fantasy impact, is Jordan Addison's back. This was
Yep.
a weird game for him where he was like benched in the first quarter for undisclosed reasons. Came back and played the last three and was heavily involved. And just based on the trends that we've seen in games that Addison and Hawkinson play together, it like severely impacts TJ Hawkinson and his target share and his viability as a fantasy asset. So if Addison's going to be in the game, I am ranking Hawkinson a lot lower. Not that he was very high to begin with, just based on his season performance so far, but I think that we need to knock him down. And I think it's also, I'm not going to rank Justin Jefferson lower, but again, the trend continues from last season where like he's eating heavily into Jefferson's target share. Jefferson is just the best in the world and continues to get it done even on slightly less volume than what you'd expect.
Absolutely agree. And just to add on to that Jordan Addison comment, he's just sneakily been like a great red zone target for this team and somebody they've
Yeah.
really valued in the red zone. So I just wanted to second that and just reiterate that TJ Hawkinson should probably fall down the ranks a little bit because of that. Um yeah, and Cam Akers threw a touchdown. I didn't even see that happened.
Yeah.
What was that?
I didn't see that one either. I was watching this one on, or no, I guess this was the morning game. So I didn't even catch the first half. That must have been a first half action that I missed.
Yeah, that's funny to see, man. Cam Akers, it's like a yearly thing with him with the Minnesota Vikings at this point. It's getting to be great.
Yeah.
And now I guess this is the more actionable side of things with the Cleveland Browns side of the ball because we got to see Dylan Gabriel in his debut, which he looked okay, but not great. Obviously, it looks a little bit better on paper than it really did in real life, I feel like, in my opinion. And just how that affected the rest of the team in terms of targets, in terms of how everybody else is falling. Jerry Jeudy is kinda getting phased out a little bit of the receiving game here, it feels like. Even with Cedric Tillman being gone, you would think, "Okay, he's gonna be featured now," and then Isaiah Bond gets more targets than him. Also, David Njoku kinda had his bounce back game this week as well, and the side of the it's Cleveland Browns are just confusing, but outside of Quinshon Judkins, who's been extremely solid lately, but
Yeah.
what's your opinion of the Cleveland Browns right now?
So you mentioned it. Quinshon is rock steady. He's going to continue to be awesome. I'm starting him every single week, regardless of matchup. He's game script proof. This guy's awesome. Dylan Gabriel, very interesting. He seems to me to be playing not to make mistakes. He's just avoiding turnovers, which I guess will keep them in more games, but it's probably not going to win them a lot of games. And he's also targeting the tight end position way higher than the team target share to them was with Joe Flacco. He's at 39.4% of his pass attempts going to tight ends versus 26.8 entering today for David Njoku and Harold Fannin. So I think we're going to continue to see their target shares inflated. And we saw, it's a one game sample size, but to this point, it seems like Njoku is kind of the favored guy. Um, Fannin did see, I think, 5 targets for 4 receptions, but like all in the first half and all on really, really low ADOT. He only had 13 yards in the day, did find the end zone. But I think the wide receivers with Dylan Gabriel are going to be impossible to start week to week.
Yeah, nobody really looked good out there. Like, I know I had talked about Isaiah Bond and how prior to this season, he was thought of as a day one, day two guy. And, he had that potential, which I still believe he does. Obviously, he wasn't there with the team the entirety of training camp. So I'm not expecting him to break through the doors at any point during this season. And when it comes to Jamari Thrash, he just hasn't really been getting this stuff done. And he was someone we were talking
Yeah.
about before the season started as well that is not really panning out. So we're waiting for the guys to come back, but Jerry Jeudy is out there and he's just not really looking great. And that's what's kind of confusing to me about all of this, really.
Well, yeah, I don't think the target share for the wide receivers, like their piece of the pie, is going to be large enough with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback for them to be fantasy relevant, regardless of who we're talking about.
Yeah, so I guess the Cleveland Browns are now in a void where we kind of liked the Cleveland Browns
Yeah.
before Dylan Gabriel was back there.
Yeah. At the wide receiver position.
Right.
I think the tight ends are going to be heavily involved, and I think Judkins is going to be good. It's going to be concentrated, which, knowing what to expect is a good thing. It's just there's not going to be that many people involved anymore.
Yeah, I agree. But I would say shout out to the Cleveland Browns from going from Nick Chubb straight to Quinshon Judkins from one great pure runner to another one.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's great luck. All right, and now we are looking at what I consider to be one of the more concerning games of the week. We got the Raiders who struggled heavily against the Indianapolis Colts. You know your team is struggling when you let somebody score 3 touchdowns against you, and one of them is an octopus. You know what an octopus is, Eric? For the people out
Because
there
I
who don't?
watch Red Zone, yes, the
Yeah,
octopus is where the same player was responsible for the touchdown score and the 2-point conversion. Shout out Jonathan Taylor for that.
absolutely. They don't happen too often, and he was able to get one last week. The Raiders have just kinda looked bad. Geno Smith also making a lot of mistakes out there, kind of making forced mistakes that we don't see out of him too often. I feel like that's been kind of a trend this year. What are your thoughts on the Raiders as they stand right now?
I mean, the word you used to start us out, I think, is apt, concerning for sure. It's interesting too because like Geno Smith was highly regarded by kind of the spreadsheet guys and even the film guys. I thought that people looked at him as like a really underrated high end quarterback that maybe the public didn't appreciate as much as they should. And maybe had like the opposite view of Sam Darnold and thought that he was a beneficiary of his situation. And now we've seen them, kind of flip flop. And Sam Darnold's killing it in Seattle, where Geno was also doing the same. Geno in a much worse situation is really, really struggling. I don't really see a light at the end of the tunnel with Geno specifically. I am highly encouraged by what we've seen from Ashton Genty these past 2 weeks. In a bad game script in this one, he was still able to get it done through the air, 5 receptions, 42 yards, and kind of salvage this one, and still relatively efficient on the ground as well. So I think he's going to continue to rise up weekly rankings. But everywhere else, it's looking tough. Obviously, Bowers didn't play in this one, so that might have had a big impact. But yeah, it's rough for the Raiders.
Yeah, they made Brock Bowers sit this game out right here because I've seen that the PCL and sprain and I think bone bruise he has. The best thing that he can get right now is rest, and he's been kind of refusing the rest. So I think they kind of made him sit this one out right here. So hopefully, if he gets back to full health, this offense could run a little bit better. But like you said, I don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think there's anything that's going to complete 180 turn this offense around at this point.
Yeah, and question for you, I guess, about the Brock Bowers thing. Like, we know that we can never trust Pete Carroll when it comes to injuries, and he had mentioned earlier in the week that he expected Bowers to play. He
Mhm.
didn't play in this one. Are you concerned at all that this is like a true setback and he's going to be missing for multiple weeks? Or is this, like you kind of said, maybe a more scheduled or forced rest situation?
I'm being honest, think it might end up being something that does end up taking a couple of weeks, whether
Yeah,
that be from you need to sit out and rest so you can get healthy, or if it's from you can't play right now, you're not capable of it because he hasn't
sure.
looked like himself out there at all.
No, not even close. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you said, just no real light at the end of the tunnel right now, but we're hoping for better days for the Raiders, just for Ashton Genty, really, if you're an
Yeah.
Ashton Genty owner for sure. And then looking at the Indianapolis Colts, who just continue to get it done week in and week out, they Daniel Jones is apparently the truth in Indiana. He's the quarterback they've been waiting for because he is continuing to get it done. Uh, Michael Pitt, Michael Pittman continuing to get things done as well. Scored another touchdown this week, but Josh Downs way more featured this week in a blowout, which was good to see that he was still heavily featured and the leading target for the team as well. Seeing they're getting the ball spread out a little bit better.
Yeah, that one's interesting, right? So Michael Pittman came into this one questionable to play. I think a lot of people had some Colts receivers in their sneaky waiver wire pickups.
Hmm.
Josh Downs, if anybody had dropped him, people were talking about um, Adonai Mitchell, who ended up doing literally nothing in this game. Ashton Doolin ended up kind of taking the spot that I think a lot of people wanted Adonai Mitchell to play. But Michael Pittman did play. And still Josh Downs was able to get involved. I have up here, despite almost never playing in two wide receiver sets, Josh Downs has now led the Colts in target share in 2 of 5 games. This is from Ryan Heath on Twitter. He paced the team with a 25% target share today, but hasn't exceeded 11.5 fantasy points in any game yet this season. This one I think was a little bit easier to predict just because of the health of the wide receiver room, and he was necessary. But I don't know that you're going to be able to predict that on a weekly basis.
Yeah, because from the sounds of that, it's really sounding like he's getting targeted, but he's not getting super valuable targets, like a Wandale Robinson type situation, except he's better than Wandale Robinson. So you would hope that things swing better in his direction.
And even in this one, as the top target, still not really playing in two wide receiver sets. Like it was just, he was very heavily targeted when he was on the field, is all.
Yeah, this is strange usage for Josh Downs in that
Yeah.
instance. But again, Indianapolis Colts continuing to get it done. And Tyler Warren continuing to get it done as well.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor continues his onslaught, 3
Yeah.
touchdowns in this one. Daniel Jones looked good. Obviously, the game script didn't favor having to, press the ball down the field or do anything crazy, but he's got a trend going where if he doesn't find the end zone as a rusher, it's not a great fantasy week. Not that that's breaking news. That makes a lot of sense for most quarterbacks, but you probably want to see him get more involved on the goal line unless you're a JT owner, I guess.
Yeah, that is true. Definitely true if you're a Daniel Jones guy. And next brings us to Spencer Rattler's first win of the season. Spencer Rattler is inevitable. He will not let anyone make him go 0-11.
Dude, I gotta find it. It's gonna take me a second, so I might have you talk for a little bit. I think I bookmarked it as a tweet. This is the first win for a Saints drafted quarterback in like a ridiculous amount of time, like maybe since the '70s or something.
Oh, yeah, because Drew Brees wasn't drafted there. That's true.
Yeah, shoot, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, but yeah, it crazy stat that I saw that like a quarterback drafted by the New Orleans Saints hasn't won a game for the organization in a lot of years. Pretty insane.
I don't know if that's like you're great in other departments, like picking up quarterbacks, or you're just super incompetent at picking up quarterbacks. But I digress. Spencer Rattler able to get his first one out there, and Taysom Hill actually returned this game as well, and was already a thorn in a lot of people's sides immediately.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Saints? I know you got thoughts on your boy Rashid Shaheed.
Well, actually, I don't know that I would have mentioned him. He had a great game,
Okay.
four receptions, 114 yards, and a touchdown. The massive bulk of his fantasy scoring was on that one broken play. It was like, I don't know, they were backed up inside the 10 or something like that, and he scored a really long touchdown, 87 yards, so from the 13. But I think there is a lot of interesting stuff to talk about here. Spencer Rattler continues to perform above our preseason expectation. Um, Kellen Moore continues to call really fantasy friendly offenses. Kendre Miller out carries
Mhm.
Alvin Kamara for the first time this season and was much more efficient than he was. Something that I've noticed in the receiving game is that they've been phasing Kamara out of the running game these past 2 weeks, but trying to get him more involved in the passing game. And so he has seen a little bit higher target share, but he's been really inefficient with that as well. That's kind of come at the expense of Juwan Johnson, who I think still looks good, is just not getting the same opportunity as before. So I'm curious if that equalizes or if they realize, okay, Kamara's not really helping the team as much as we wanted and they go back to Juwan, or if Kamara ends up just getting traded or something like that and then it goes back to Juwan. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, it's like you said, with Alvin Kamara and all the rumors swirling around him, it makes things a little bit cloudier because he could get traded, and that would just kind of solve a lot of these questions right here. But
Yeah.
I think also with just Juwan Johnson and the tight end room getting just a little bit healthier with like Taysom Hill being out there, and I think Foster Moreau should be also returning soon as well. There's just going to be a little bit more people there available, more targets available at that position. So it's tough, but I think that Alvin Kamara, as long as he is with the team, I think he is gonna be someone they look to get these targets too. I think
Yeah.
that, and as long as he is there, it is gonna hurt Juwan Johnson in the long run.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then just one other note. This is, I think, the fourth out of 5 games that Chris Olave has gotten 10 plus targets. Interestingly enough, the only game that he didn't get 10 plus targets, he got a touchdown. So the fantasy scoring has never spiked, but still a weekly producer that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I saw a tweet about Chris Olave. I forget who it was. If I find it, I'll drop him in the description. But it was just Chris Olave. He'll get you 10 to 11 targets every week, but like 60 yards
Yeah.
every week.
Just needs just needs a better offensive environment and maybe quarterback, but Spencer Rattler's looked fine.
Yeah. And then looking at the New York Giants side of the ball, Jackson Dart struggled a little bit this game. It wasn't a stellar game that his debut was, but it wasn't a terrible game either. It was just kind of bad all around. But Cam Scatterbo still able to find a little bit of success. He apologized himself, said that, he wasn't really feeling like himself this week and he'll do better going forward, which I don't know. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, super involved in the passing game this week again, so that was super encouraging to see, even with Jackson Dart still being extremely good on the ground. So I thought that was pretty encouraging to see. But what do you think?
Yeah, that's something that I was a little bit nervous about as a Scatabo owner in a couple of leagues. I want that involvement in the passing game, and with Dart being so quick to run, or at least being a willing scrambler, I was worried that that might take away from his receiving volume, but it hasn't really. Um, yeah, Dart 7 for 55 on the ground continues to use his legs, and even with all the turnovers in this one, still didn't like crush you for fantasy. Like he was at least somewhat startable because of that rushing floor. It not great because like the opponent wasn't very difficult. You don't want to see him struggle in these kind of matchups, especially when that schedule is going to get much harder the next few weeks. But one takeaway that I do have in terms of like receiving market share without Malik Neighbors, this is another one
Mhm.
from Ryan Heath. Theo Johnson is tied for the team lead in target share with 21.6% in target share without Malik Neighbors, along with Wandale Robinson. And then Cam Scatabo third in that group with 17.6%. So it's getting condensed. And I do think that, Theo Johnson's not going to find the end zone twice every week, but I think that his usage is legit.
Absolutely. That was something I think I said last week as well, that him and Wandale were two guys he should really look at in this offense, and this week kind of proved that. So if he is
Yeah.
still available, especially, the scarcity at the position of tight end, definitely should go pick him up if he's available in your league. I
Yeah. I
wouldn't
think
blow
that's
the
a good
fab
shout.
on him. I wouldn't go crazy, but he is definitely someone I'm interested in.
He's viable for sure.
Absolutely. And then also, I think this game, Darius Slayton went down with a hamstring injury. So a bit more of a secondary receiver for this team. So him going down kind of just opens up more targets for everybody else as well. Also, listen for a speedy recovery for Darius Slayton.
Absolutely.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, so yeah, this game right here, this is one I wasn't watching live. I only got updated through scores, and
Yeah.
I was not happy for the first half of this game because I have a lot of Jets players. I have Justin Fields. I started Mason Taylor. I thought things were looking pretty grim. Now the Jets still lost this game. They're 0-5, which is crazy because they've scored over 100 points at this point in the season now. But also, they were still pretty fantasy viable from the skill positions for sure. But what are your thoughts on the Jets right here?
Garbage time is a crazy thing, isn't it?
Hell yeah.
No, Mason Taylor, I've been really impressed by. He led the Jets in target share with 26.1% and 9 receptions today, out targeting and out receiving Garrett Wilson, which is very impressive considering his start to the season. They both got there for fantasy. Garrett Wilson, 6 for 71 and a touchdown. I think this Mason Taylor stuff is also very legit. I think he could find himself in the tight end one conversation, like top 12 rest of season, really, with this type of usage.
Oh, 100%. With this type of usage and just the speak behind the coaches they've been giving since, before the season started. Like Aaron Glenn, right? Aaron Glenn, I'm thinking, right,
Mm-hmm.
dude? Yeah.
Yep.
He was speaking about Mason Taylor and he was saying that people asked him how rookie tight ends usually take time to develop, and one thing he said was, "I don't think that's really been the case at all from things he's seen." Which he used to work with Sam Laporta also prior to this, so he's seen a lot of good rookie tight ends come in and just make an impact early. And he said he thought Mason Taylor also fell into that same bracket. So
And
going
that,
forward, we may see a lot more of them.
yeah, that's absolutely true, considering the fact that Mason Taylor dealt with a high ankle sprain for a lot of training camp. And so he wasn't there for a lot of that, preseason process. And then, yeah, he's been getting ramped up very quickly and has looked very impressive these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I think if Mason Taylor is available, which I think a lot of people picked him up before this week, if he's still available in your league, definitely go get him. And he's somebody I will use a little bit more fab on, to be honest with you, because I think he's going to be heavily featured in this offense.
Absolutely.
And then Brees Hall continuing to get it done. Justin Fields looking okay, but obviously in garbage time, he got a lot more done.
Yeah.
So still fantasy viable. But looking at the Dallas side of the ball, Dak Prescott continues to put on his MVP campaign as well.
Yeah,
And
bro.
Javonte Williams looking like the old Javonte Williams again.
Yeah. Over 15 weighted opportunities in 3 of 5 games for Javante, top 3 in yards per carry. And it's just been really impressive to see this Dallas Cowboys offense continue to be this efficient and this effective without CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott, like you said, I think deserves a lot of that credit. I think Schottenheimer deserves a lot of credit for how he's called these games. And I'm going to forget his name, so I feel bad about it. I think it's the offensive coordinator. He used to be the run game coordinator for maybe the Giants. But his ability to get this run game going and keep it efficient, even with what we thought preseason was going to be a terrible running back group, it's been incredibly impressive. And like you said, Javonte Williams should probably be at least top 15 rest of season.
Absolutely, and that's going to be Clayton Adams, who is a
That's right.
former offensive line coach.
Yeah, offensive line, and I think he
Mhm.
has experience as like a run game coordinator at some point in his career. I'm pretty sure I saw that. I could be wrong, but his ability to get this run game going, I think, has been fantastic.
Yep, run game coordinator at Western Washington in 2007. So he's been around doing this for a minute.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the receiving side of things? Because I know you're a big George Pickens guy, and
Yeah.
he did do really well. At least he did well enough. He saved the day with a touchdown. He caught 2 passes, but he wasn't super featured this week compared to last week. What are your thoughts on that?
So he got shadowed by Sauce Gardner. He followed him all around the field, regardless of where he was in formation. And so I think that has some to do with it. Like you said, he salvaged the day with the touchdown. And so I think that's probably the main reason for it. And also just the lack of talent in the Jets DB room besides Sauce Gardner helped everybody else eat. I was definitely shocked to see Ryan Flournoy up there with 6 receptions, 114 yards. That was crazy. But Jake Ferguson continues to eat. He's got to be tight end 1 on the season right now, right?
I think right now he's up there for sure at this
Yeah.
point.
As long as CD's out, he's going to continue to be the security blanket. And even when he comes back, he's proven to be a very, very vital asset to this team.
Absolutely, and saw, I think it was Dr. Jesse Morse that was tweeting about Jake Ferguson that he got hurt. Guys, he's not hurt.
Don't
He came back to the game. He's fine.
don't ever listen to anything that guy says. Genuinely.
But yeah, taking a look, he is the tight end 1 right now for sure. So yeah, Jake Ferguson definitely getting it done out there.
Love to see it.
Oh, and Jaden Blue played. Jaden Blue played. He didn't do anything really, but he played. He was
Got
active
them
this week.
got them blisters on his feet from them Louis Vuittons, huh?
Yeah, that's there's some crazy stories that happen in the NFL, but that's one of those, like, what?
Yeah.
And ding dong, the witch is dead. The Philadelphia Eagles have finally lost a game. Thank goodness. And
Yeah.
the Denver Broncos, of all people, were the ones to do it. They've been struggling a little bit the past couple of weeks, but able to tie it all kind of back together. Bo Nix looked better this week than he has kind of in prior weeks this season. And J.K. Dobbins kind of proven to be a must start at the running back position week in and week out. R.J. Harvey not really getting ramped up like we thought. What are your thoughts on the Broncos thus far?
I mean, the Broncos are also really condensed, and I think that's helpful for our ability to start their studs in fantasy. It's going to be J.K. Dobbins, it's going to be Cortland Sutton, and that's kind of it. Bo Nix has been kind of inconsistent. We saw RJ Harvey outtouch J.K. Dobbins last week in what was just a blowout. Like, that was not really competitive. But then when they needed him in a tighter game, this one, they heavily relied on J.K. Dobbins. Cortland Sutton has also been kind of a roller coaster in terms of target share, but he's always been like the guy that they go to in clutch situations. And because of the game script in this one, where they were mostly down, they went to him
A
all
lot.
the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And taking a look at Evan Ingram actually did something this week. The Joker rears his head for the first time. Any thoughts on Evan Ingram? Do you think he'll do this 2 weeks in a row?
No, I mean, like, touchdowns aren't sticky. Who knows if he finds the end zone again? But like, it's not reliable usage. It's really low ADOT, weird, like around the line of scrimmage stuff, which I have trouble like counting on week to week.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I hate Evan Ingram right now. And then looking at the Philadelphia Eagles side of the ball, again, like we've said before, we'll continue to say it. The only people you can feel safe starting in this team are Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, but Devonta Smith has been doing well the last couple weeks, and A.J. Brown still getting targeted. Dallas Goedert also getting heavily targeted in this offense. What are your thoughts on the Eagles' offense, given all the turmoil and how that kind of translated this week?
I really don't like Kevin Patullo. I
Yeah,
really wish that they had Kellen Moore back. The offense, it's so hard to watch, and it was weird in this one. Like we've been hoping that they would air it out more, because when we've seen them do that, the efficiency of the offense across the board typically goes up. But I think this is just a worse team than last year, even though we didn't really expect it to be. I think injuries have hit them. Their offensive line isn't protecting nearly as well as it was, because we saw them basically abandon the run in this one, which they never do.
yeah,
Even at the expense of efficiency, they never just fully go away from the run. Saquon only with 6 carries in this one, only 11 total team carries, which is, I don't know, that's crazy from this Eagles offense. And then Jalen Hurts wasn't that great of a passer. AJ Brown was targeted decently, but didn't really produce for fantasy. Devonta Smith obviously got there. Um, and Dallas Goddard, I think this is another one from Ryan Heath. Target shares in 4 games with their top 3 receiving options active. So if they're all healthy and on the field, AJ Brown at 24%, Devonta Smith at 20%, and Dallas Goddard at 19%. So he's eating heavily into that workload for the rest of the receiving options.
yeah, and like you said, it's just not really. They're not letting them run like full route trees out there, which I think is what's really frustrating them so much. They're not really letting them run free, and they're not letting them run anything really downfield. Nothing to really open up this offense. Which, like you said, Saquon really only benefited from breaking off that long touchdown run. Outside of
Yeah.
that, he would have had a pretty bad day this week. So,
Or receiving score, right?
did I say receiving or did I say rushing?
Rushing. Yeah,
My
yeah.
fault. Meant to say receiving.
Yeah,
47
you're
yard
good.
receiving touchdown. But yeah, Eagles tough to watch right now.
Absolutely.
All right, and that is going to bring us to the Dolphins-Panthers game. So, Eric, what team do you think is going to get Mike McDaniel as an OC next year?
I think that is the correct question to be asking. They absolutely should have won this game. The fact that they let Carolina take what should have been garbage time and use that to actually win the game was atrocious. But I think there are interesting things to glean from both sides of the ball on this one. If we want to start with the Dolphins, Achan completely stifled as a rusher, but looked fantastic as a receiver. I don't know if you happened to see that highlight grab that he had in the end zone, but like literally falling out of bounds, toe tap like an all pro receiver. He looked
Yeesh.
incredible on that one. And the fact that they would even like target the running back in that situation shows the confidence that they have in him. So he's going to be an every week start, even with the woeful ground performance. Obviously, everybody knows he's an every week start. And then Jalen Waddle and Darren Waller, really, really impressive. I want to hear your thoughts on that one.
Darren Waller might be the best rapper playing in the NFL right now. But just it was encouraging to see. Like last week, we thought, all right, maybe it was a fluke. He's just a red zone target for the team because he only caught 2 end zone, passes that game, and they've been ramping him up because he's been hurt since they signed him. So it's been a lot of concerns about Darren Waller, but just seeing this performance and also just kind of seeing him in interviews and the spirits he's been in lately, it's kind of really encouraging. It's good to see him like playing football and just enjoying playing football, even when it's in such a bad situation like it is out in Miami. But
Yeah.
in terms of just him getting targeted, it wasn't a fluke. Looking at last week compared to this week, he is someone they're looking to feature more and probably get involved more as the weeks go along as well.
Yeah, it was interesting to see his usage split between the first and second half. I think literally all of his statistics were recorded in the first half, and then he didn't see another look in the second half. I don't know why that was necessarily. Um, but yeah, he stuffed the stat sheet early. The Jalen Waddle stuff has been really encouraging. Another one from Ryan Heath. In 2 games, Tyreek Hill has missed since coming to Miami. Jalen Waddle's averaging 9 targets a game, 126 receiving yards per game, and 28.6 PPR fantasy points per game. So I think that is also legit and here to stay.
Yeah, it looks like Jalen. He does remember Jalen Waddle plays with him. Used to play with him in college, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good to see.
Yeah.
And then taking a look at the Carolina Panthers side of the ball, they weren't looking great. I still won't say like this team isn't looking great, but they were able to get it done against a really bad Dolphins team. And again, Rico Dowdle able to get it done this week in the absence of Chuba Hubbard. Which, what are your thoughts on that with Rico Dowdle? I think he had what a 30.9 point explosion this past week, half PPR.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. He owned the backfield, 85% backfield carry share. I think over 13% target share as well. Got everything in the red zone and by the end zone. I think his usage this week was better than we've seen from Chuba Hubbard this entire season, and even dating back to a lot of last season. He did, I think, leave this game with an injury very, very late. And we
Yes.
saw that's when Trevor Etienne started to work in at the very end of the game. So we'll have to monitor his health status. But I mean, if Hubbard misses more than this week and Dowdle is healthy, we know what they're going to do with him. So,
Yeah, you're gonna have to start him because
yeah,
that was crazy. And he's sitting on waivers for a lot of people right now too. So definitely someone you should go out and at least take a look and see if he's out there for you.
for sure.
And then someone else that got ramped up a little bit this week, not a whole lot, but a little bit. Jimmy Horn Jr., the rookie from Colorado, got a little bit more burn and actually got a pretty big catch, I think, late in the game as well for a first down, pretty crucial first down. So I'm not excited about Jimmy Horn because I think Jalen Coker's coming back pretty soon as well,
Yeah.
and that's going to change how things go for this offense. But just interesting for the dynasty guys out there.
Yeah. Also for dynasty guys, I mean, you can use him in redraft, but Tedero McMillan continues to look outstanding. This is a bad offense, and so you can't count on him getting in the end zone or producing a ton for fantasy this year. But I love the way he looks, and so that's just really encouraging for future years for him.
Oh, 100%. I think he's here to stay. He's looked incredible out there himself.
Yeah.
This game felt like taking old Yeller out back. Cooper Rush struggled heavily, and the rest of the team struggled mightily because of it. Derrick Henry able to save the day with a touchdown, and Zay Flowers still able to be the most targeted receiver in what is a terrible offense now at this point. Do we have any takeaways really for the Baltimore Ravens right now?
I mean, pour one out for them. Like
Yeah.
they're the most injured team in football on both sides of the ball. Without Lamar, it's abysmal usage on the offense. Like you said, Flowers got there, but he had a 56-yard catch. So without that, he did nothing. Derrick Henry got in the end zone. Without that, he was 2.2 yards per carry. Um, yeah, this is a really bad football team with the health that they have right now, and I don't know that I have much else.
Yeah, it's just not a whole lot of positivity coming from that side of things right now.
Yeah.
And looking at the Houston Texans side of the ball, this is part two of their sort of bounce back. We saw the win last week. This week, they got an absolute trouncing. So it's safe to say at least the confidence is back for the Texans right now. And CJ Stroud absolutely hooped this week with 4 touchdowns thrown, 2 of which to Xavier Hutchinson, of all people.
Yeah.
Someone we talked about in the preseason because he was getting a lot of burn with the ones and we didn't know exactly what was going on. And that didn't happen to start the season. But then this week, of course, he scores 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But Nico Collins still super featured, able to score this week as well to save his week as well. And Jalen Noel able to score also. What are your thoughts on the Texans over here? Because I know Woody Marks has been a huge point of discussion for this team with as much as hype as he's been getting and what happened this week.
Yeah, so he's probably who I want to zero in on. Coming off of week 4, where he looked like he was starting to cement himself as the guy in the backfield. He had a 57% backfield carry share and an 18% target share in week 4. Those both dropped in this one. And I think that's even if you exclude the crazy garbage time fourth quarter stats, which really make the stat sheet look weird for all of the positions. But if you take that out, still only 37% backfield carry share and 4.3% target share. Nick Chubb had a bigger game this one and a much bigger opportunity share in this one. I don't necessarily know what that means going forward. I think they're going to continue to kind of have a 50-50 split, and it's going to be week to week for both of these guys.
Yeah, it feels like they're just kind of trying stuff, to be honest, to just see what sticks. They
Yeah.
spoke about Woody Marks and saying they wanted to give him more opportunities and then immediately didn't do that this week. So it's just, again, I don't know what to take away from that, except Joe Mixon is not coming back at any point during the season. I think
Yes,
that's the only takeaway.
for sure.
So in the intro, I spoke about weird touchdowns. This is the game we're talking about right here. And it's
Yes.
Tyler Lockett sitting right down there. Where is he even at on the stat sheet with this touchdown? Where is he even going
There
to
he
pop up?
is. Tennessee receiving, he's second from the bottom.
Yeah, but I didn't even know where his touchdown is even listed in the stat sheet. It's such
Oh,
a
like
weird.
how that was credited? Yeah.
Here it is down
There
here.
it
It's
is.
listed as a
Miscellaneous.
defensive touchdown. down here in miscellaneous. Because Cam Ward threw an interception that was fumbled and then bobbled into the end zone, and Tyler Lockett fell on it. So,
This
yeah.
is one of the weirder games and weirder outcomes I may have ever seen. Uh, Arizona, I think, was up 21-6 at halftime,
Yep.
or somewhere around there. Continued to not score another point, but had every opportunity to do so. Amari DiMercato had like a 71-yard run where he just dropped the ball before he got across the end zone. Touchback. That would have sealed the game. Um, they had a weird situation where Kyler Murray wasn't expecting a snap, hits him right in the face mask, turnover. And then the one that you just described, where it's a pick, a fumble. Four Cardinals had a chance to recover it. It ends up in the end zone for the Titans, and they lose this game. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, this one was nuts. Like, it's a crazy first game to win, but I am glad the Titans did get at least one game this season. But it's just it's a wild one to see. But more encouraging for the Cardinals as well. Michael Carter able to get things done out there in the backfield, so that was encouraging to see. And like you said, Amari DiMercato, if he wasn't an idiot, would have had a way bigger game than he did. So
Yeah, I mean, it would have been basically off of one run. It was clear that Michael Carter was the guy in this one.
mhm.
Even in the receiving game, he got a lot of usage, 5 receptions for 22 yards. So I think he's the clear pickup if he's still on waivers for people. And if you were smart enough to make that decision over Amari DiMercato, congrats to you. Marvin Harrison, I think, looked good in this one. He also had a crazy catch, like
Yep.
over
Over
two
two
defenders,
guys. Yep.
that he like just barely got tackled at the 1 yard line. I think the ruling on the field was that it was a touchdown. So this could have been an even bigger week for him. So that's good to see. But outside of that, yeah, it was just a crazy and disappointing day for Arizona.
I will say they definitely called it a touchdown because I got that alert on my phone and was immediately disappointed
Yeah.
afterwards.
Just real quickly before we leave this one, Calvin Ridley, after an injury last week, we had kind of left him for dead, came back big time in this one, 5 receptions, 131 yards. A lot of that, I think, was also in garbage time. You're hovering over 10 targets. So the usage was there. It's really hard for me to count on that week to week, just based on how terrible this team has been. But what are your thoughts on that one?
So, I mean, the one thing at least to be certain about is they're gonna try to get the ball to Calvin Ridley. You know what I mean? Like, they've been trying to get him the ball. He just hasn't been catching it. So it's not
That
the target
that
share I'm
and a lack
concerned
of
with.
health for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that at the very least he's turned a corner in health wise and things will start to get better as the season goes along. Maybe this is more of an indicator of how things can be going forward, hopefully.
I think that's fair. Also, 26.2 average yards per reception's not sustainable. But yes,
No,
hopefully
no, no,
this
no.
target volume sustains.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Mecca. We have reached the game of the week. We have reached the showdown of the Ohio State receivers. We have reached Baker Mayfield versus Sam Darnold, which I never thought in my life I would say as a game of the week. But gosh darn it, we're here. What are your thoughts on this game right here, bro? Because this one was so hyped to watch.
Can we also say uniform matchup of the century?
Oh my goodness,
Dude.
so clean.
The throwbacks
So
on both of
clean.
them. This was aesthetic. This was productive. This was everything you could possibly ask for.
Like, I need the
Which
NFL
side?
to seriously take notes on this one. They need to because they
Absolutely.
cooked with this one.
Absolutely. Which team do you want to start with here?
Let's start with the Seahawks side of the ball.
Okay. So, we touched on it in the intro a little bit. Sam Darnold, incredibly impressive. But yeah, this was truly a heavyweight bout, just haymaker after haymaker. Both of these offense trading blows, both of these quarterbacks looking incredibly impressive. Even the interception that Sam Darnold had was kind of a weird situation where it bounced off of, I don't know if it was an offensive lineman or one of the defensive linemen's helmets, kind of ricocheted and led to what was ultimately the game-winning field goal for the Buccaneers. But Jackson Smith and Jigba continues to be incredible as we expected. Cooper Kupp more involved in this one. I don't know if it was under the radar because he did score 2 touchdowns, but AJ Barner absolutely deserves to be talked about. His role has continued to increase week over week. This was the first time that I think he was like truly like an essential part of the offense. His target share wasn't very high, but like he's been really important to team success with his blocking ability and his situational usage. But this time he got 7 targets, 7 receptions, and found the end zone twice. I really like him as a player. I don't know how consistent this production is going to be. Obviously, he's not going to score twice every week, but I think that he's somebody to watch for sure. That could be like a top 15 option.
Yeah, I think especially right now in the short term, I think he's somebody definitely to look to for this offense. And the only thing that concerns me about him in the long term, just for the season, is Elijah Arroyo and how positively the team has spoken of him, but he hasn't really turned that into anything this season. So while I don't see him, taking that now, I could see momentum kind of swinging in his direction at some point down the line. But right now, AJ Barner is the guy, and I think going forward should be the guy unless something like that does change.
Yeah. Uh, and then at the running back position, we continue this ridiculous split where Kenneth Walker is incredibly efficient. Zach Charbonnet isn't, but he gets all of the end zone and red zone carries. So that sucks.
Yeah, bro. They just let Kenneth Walker get all the work done, and then, yep, there you go, Zach. Go ahead. But it
Yeah.
is what it is at this point. Can't even be surprised by it now, honestly.
Yeah. It's true.
And then taking a look at the Buccaneers side of the ball, Baker Mayfield continuing to get it done. So let's talk about the concerning news a little bit for the Buccaneers, because while this is a good one right here and the team's still optimistic, Bucky Irving before this game was obviously hurt with an ankle injury. We saw him with the boot on, and we thought that was the extent of what that injury was. We were just waiting until Friday to hear if he had the boot on, if he was going to play or not.
Just to clarify, foot sprain? Not was it ankle or I thought it was.
I think they said it was a foot or ankle, but I don't. Did they clarify which one it
We've
was at
continued
some
to
point?
get like contradictory news on that, but
Yeah,
something down lower extremity injury. Yeah.
because I hear ankle all the time now too from people.
Yeah.
But the biggest news is that now he has a shoulder injury that popped up as well, and they're saying
Yeah.
that's even more concerning than the ankle injury is.
Yeah.
And they're saying it's more along the lines of like what Xavier Worthy has with that subluxation, where it could be something where it takes a couple weeks away. And at the
Yeah.
running back position, that's even worse because a wide receiver, you're not taking that same kind of punishment, so you can get back out there sooner. But with Rashad White out there still getting it done, are you still at least confident in that at the running back position?
Yes. So we talked about it a little bit last week. We figured Rashad White would slot in, especially if this was a short-term injury. We mentioned that Sean Tucker has been somebody that we've liked his play and what we've seen out of him in limited sample size before. And so if this ended up being a long-term injury, he might be able to slot in. I don't have much confidence in that now. This was clearly the Rashad White show. Um, and he produced in it too. Like nobody was efficient on the ground, but he made the most of it production wise.
Absolutely. I think he's still getting it done. I think at the very least, he's in what, RB2 territory at the very least
Yeah,
going for it.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
If not
probably
higher.
like borderline, like maybe top 15 ish. Yeah, depending on the matchup.
Absolutely. And then looking at the receiving side of the ball,
Bro.
Emeka Egbuka, ladies and gentlemen, what is he?
Inevitable.
You cannot stop him. He cannot be stopped. I do not care about your open scores. I don't care about none of that. It doesn't matter. He's a stud. If you got him, start him. Right now, without Mike Evans, he is the guy for this offense that they look to make a play in just about any type of situation, honestly. And he's getting it done, play in and play out. But what are your thoughts on sort of the receiving side of things over here? Because Cade Otton did pretty well this week as well.
It was a high volume week, and everything was clicking for both of these teams. I think both of them had injuries in their secondaries, and so that kind of helped out the ancillary pieces for sure.
Oh yeah.
But Abuka specifically, I echo everything you just said. Also, I think I saw a stat that he's third all time, like through rookie receivers' first 5 weeks in fantasy production, behind only Randy Moss and Puka Nakua.
Yep.
Like that is some rarefied air. So yeah, he is certainly inevitable, and it doesn't really matter. Like he's had the runway open for him, but I don't know that it even matters if everybody's healthy. He's probably still going to ball.
Yeah, at this point, I'm thinking even when Mike Evans is back, he's still going to be a huge part of this offense. That's how just much momentum and how good he's been for this offense.
And the offense has looked really, really good even without Liam Cohen, which is something I was a little bit concerned about coming into the season. So the volume's going to be there to sustain whoever's out there.
Absolutely. And now we are moving on to another game where a running back threw a touchdown that I had no idea happened with David Montgomery and the Detroit Lions. What are your thoughts on this game right here with the Bengals able to find some actual offense this week?
This was very strange. I didn't follow it super closely. I was watching this one on Red Zone as it kind of kept coming back to it. In the first half, the Bengals were able to keep this close and like limit the Lions scoring. which was really surprising. A lot of people had labeled this as a David Montgomery game because this was kind of like a homecoming for him, and he had family in the stadium for the first time to watch him play. Didn't didn't have like the smash game that I think people hoped. We got there with a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Um, I don't know. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we don't have to say much. He continues to produce. Laporta looked great. I think the biggest thing is that the Jamison Williams hype from the offseason is just not coming to fruition, and he's even getting passed by Isaac Tesla at this point.
Yeah, Jamison Williams, I think he's somebody I've kind of always thought of as kind of boom or bust, and that was how he really started out. And that narrative changed because they said they were using him more and he's been more featured, but it just hasn't really been the case. He's still kind of boom or bust. He's going to have big weeks, but you're just not going to know when to start him. That's the part that's tough.
Yeah.
And then taking a look at the Bengals side of the ball, Jake Browning remembering that Jamar Chase is out there and getting on the ball, but obviously in a game where they had no real hopes of winning this one. What do you think about the Bengals right now and how things are shaking out right now?
It's so scary. Like even so, okay. We did our kind of re-ranking or redrafting after 4 weeks in our last video, right? And we didn't have Jamar Chase in our top what 3 rounds or no?
We didn't have him in the top
24
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like maybe that was a little presumptuous. Like obviously he's still one of the best receivers in the entire NFL. He's going to have games like this. But almost all of that production was in the second half. The first half looked terrible across the board for everybody. T. Higgins also saved his day with a touchdown. Another Ryan Heath tweet: in 3 full games with Jake Browning, the Bengals' target shares are Jamar Chase with 26, Chase Brown with 17.4, and then T. Higgins third in the pecking order at 16.3. He's going to continue to be mostly bust. This isn't even a boom, but just like a semi-viable week. Chase Brown continues to be woefully inefficient. Like it's hard to count on anybody, really.
Yeah, it's just not a whole lot of optimism towards the Bengals right now. With Jake Browning there, it's just leading the helm. Yeah, not super optimistic. Now, if they trade for Jameis,
we need Jameis. We need him.
They trade for Jameis, I'm putting Jamar Chase back at number 1, baby. I promise you.
Bro, I might be willing to have them ranked higher than I would have with Joe Burrow. Like, come on, bro.
All right, and now we are back with the home team. We got the Washington Commanders versus the Los Angeles Chargers. This game didn't go the way I really thought it would. Commanders down 10 early, but able to kind of rage back and win. And also, Bill Crosky Merritt having his huge game. Absolutely huge game, which we kind of knew he was capable of. I'll let you talk about Washington for a little bit. What are your thoughts on Washington?
They finally let him be the featured back. He's shown the efficiency. He had, I thought, separated himself on tape and separated himself a little bit in the statistical categories, even on super limited sample sizes. And they finally just let him run with it. He had 14 carries to Chris Rodriguez's 5 and McNichols 1, 7.9 yards per carry. I will say this was kind of an uncharacteristic defensive performance from the Chargers in this Jesse Minter-led defense. You typically see better than that. They're also without Khalil Mack, who's a pretty essential run defender for them. But even with that being said, I think this usage is really encouraging, and I hope it continues going forward. I think he's talented enough to continue having days like this. It's just whether or not they're going to let him.
Yeah, I think this is just more indicative of what Washington was telling us. I think it's just true that what they said, they had a day 2 grade for him, but they just ended up getting him on day 3 because he slid that far. And he's just kind of showing that he's still capable of getting it done back there. And in the receiving side of things, if your last name ain't Samuel, we don't want you in this offense right now.
Yeah. I mean, only 15 completions on the day. And so that kind of skews things a little bit, but we're talking 8 receptions out of 15 completions. That's a big deal. Debo is clearly the featured guy without Terry there. And I think he's going to continue to be that even when Terry comes back healthy or semi-healthy and playing games. We saw this when they were both on the field. In week 1, Debo looked really good. I think he's just going to continue to be probably a top 20 receiving option for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think he's a good fit for this offense, and I think it's shown, like you said, even in the weeks when Terry was there, that he kind of shined a little bit better. So I think that as the season goes along, he's the guy to have in this passing offense.
For sure.
And then taking a look at the Chargers side of the ball, the big news here is Amarian Hampton went down with an injury, left the stadium in a boot. We're not exactly sure what that situation is or what kind of time he's going to miss yet. But the two guys who are going to benefit from that the most as it stands are Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal, unless things change. But in terms of just watching this offense, it was kind of tough because they couldn't really get things going the way they usually do. There were a lot of crazy penalties as well from the offensive line because, they're missing some vital pieces from there. So the guys who kind of hobbled together weren't really able to get it done. What are your thoughts right now on the Chargers? Are you concerned about the Chargers right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is another thing that we kind of brought up in our last video. Amari and Hampton was somebody that we were confident in, and I think showed that we were right to be confident in prior to the injury. But this offensive line has completely fallen apart. Where they don't have Rashawn Slater, they don't have Joe Alt. It sounds like he's going to miss at least another month. I think there's another interior offensive line injury in there as well. And so Herbert is being asked to do a lot with no time, and it shows. Like I think he's genuinely playing good football, but it's not going to result in the same production that we've seen from him throughout the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for him going forward. We're going to see more games like this than earlier in the season for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the bright side of things, Ladd McConkey had a bit of a resurgence again this week. We were waiting for finally popped back up. What are your thoughts on the receiving room for the Chargers right now?
I mean, I think they're going to be relied on more, considering if Amari and Hampton misses time, basically, because I'm not that inspired by Haskins and Vidal behind that
Hmm.
offensive line. I think it's going to be tough sledding for this offense in general. But I think that they're going to see a lot of volume. I was happy to see McConkey get in the end zone, and I thought he looked fantastic in this game. He also had, I believe, like a punt return touchdown taken off
That
the
was
board due to
called back.
penalty. He
Yep.
looks great, man. He genuinely doesn't look any worse than he did last season, I don't think. It's just been a weird split. Quentin Johnston has improved, and Keenan Allen is still consistent as ever. So it's going to be an annoying split, but they're all going to get a pretty decent amount of volume and probably all be fantasy starters.
And honestly, who knows? Maybe with this change, I don't know. Ladd McConkey may end up getting targeted more just because of the type of routes he is running. Because I feel like they do have him running the shorter depth of field stuff lately. They haven't
Yeah,
really had him opening up the top as much. And since that line is as beat up as it is, he may be a first look a lot more often now.
that's definitely possible. Yeah.
And that's going to bring us to our final game of the slate before, of course, the Monday night game, which we are not covering yet. So you guys we're watching that live with y'all. But for this one being the final one, Patriots Bills, this was actually a pretty interesting game. Came down to the wire for sure. What are your thoughts on this one right here? Because I feel like Drake May, he didn't score, but this looked like a really, really good game for him.
It did. So I'm going to need you to fill me in on the first half. I missed the first half of this game. We were like hosting a friend. And I came back and saw that the Bills were losing 3-6, and I was
Yeah,
shocked. But watching the second half, yeah, Drake May looked really impressive. Stephon Diggs is absolutely back. His route share, route participation, and especially his target rate has been through the roof. I think I think he was targeted on like 48% of his routes or something ridiculous
sheesh.
in this one. He looks great doing it. So I was very impressed with New England as a whole and confused about what was going on with Buffalo.
Yeah, just to start the game, to be honest with you, it was just a lot of struggles in the red zone. The Patriots got into the red zone, obviously on both of these field goals. I think they were both within 10 yards, but they just couldn't put it in.
Right.
And it's just weird to see with this team with the running back room because I feel like in those opportunities you don't see, and again, this is echoing a lot of the thoughts of a lot of the fantasy community. But in these situations where they're struggling to get into the end zone, you're seeing a lot of Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson in these situations, but you're not really seeing a lot of Trevion Henderson, which is weird for me with as much fumble troubles as they've had. And obviously, with Antonio Gibson going down this past week, that may open up a little bit more opportunity for Trevion Henderson. But Ramondre Stevenson is like hard-headedly staying a part of this offense when I feel like he has given up the ball a lot.
Didn't he fumble again in this game?
Yes.
And still got the 2 touchdown scores.
Yes, and those were late in the game.
I
They
don't
still gave him
understand,
those
dude.
opportunities. I don't like, do they hate Trevion Henderson? I don't get it. That's what it feels like at this point.
This is like a classic Josh McDaniels, like, make the rookies earn it, even though they have earned it type of situation, it seems like. I don't know. It's weird.
It's not even like I don't even think this is a the rookie has earned it situation. I think the 2 vets have just given up the job so much, it's wild that they're still there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, true.
I think there's more of a lane now that Antonio Gibson is hurt, which we're gonna see more news on that as well, but with the way things were looking, I'm not too optimistic. So prayers for Antonio Gibson, hoping for the best. But yeah, looking at the Buffalo side of things, everything kinda shook out the way we thought it was going to, but it still got a little bit weird as well. Dalton Kincaid has been a huge part of this passing offense and continues to be. I feel like, again, ever since we said he was a sell, he has
Yeah,
just stubbornly been a part of this offense,
yeah.
and he continues to do that this week. Khalil Shakir continues to be the most targeted person in this offense, and Keon Coleman, the guy they go to make just big plays, he's just the big play guy for this team. But what are your thoughts on the attack over there for Buffalo at the moment?
I mean, my biggest takeaway is the lack of efficiency from James Cook. We've
Yeah.
seen him just running all over every defense that he's played, and being schemed into great positions. This one, he got stifled at only 3.3 yards per carry. Didn't even lead the team in rushing. Josh Allen had that title for this one. It seemed like there were just tons of turnovers. Like I said, I missed the first half, but I tried to watch some of the highlights of it. And there was an interception and I think a fumble from Josh Allen also, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
he did fumble.
And so the game script got sent into a weird direction with that, and also like just the total amount of possession and amount of plays run wasn't nearly as high as you'd typically expect from the Bills. So I think that affected the running game pretty heavy. But yeah, Dalton Kincaid is just continuing to tell us to shut up. Like, it doesn't matter that his route participation is low. Even in this one, it still wasn't significantly higher than it has been in previous weeks. It's just he's getting targeted almost every time he's out there on the field running a route. So yeah, it was a weird game. Certainly didn't expect Buffalo to lose it in prime time at home, but any given Sunday, I guess.
Dalton Kincaid proving to be the Josh Down of Hunter Henrys.
I love it. It's perfect.
But with that being said, that just got us through all the games for this past Thursday and Sunday. Again, didn't cover the Chiefs game tonight, so we're watching that one live with you. Hopefully, we see some good games tonight. But with that being said, if you guys made it this far into the video, we love you. Make sure you let us know down in the comments below. What takeaways did you have from this set of games from this week? Did you guys see anything different from us that you would have seen? Do you think we're too optimistic or too pessimistic on anyone? Let us know in the comments down below. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you like the content. Hit that like button. Gets us out there into the YouTube stratosphere. But with that being said, we love you, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.